What really happened, the moment Park Jimin stepped forward and sang that one note, the one that made thousands of people suddenly fall silent and then break down in tears for no clear reason. Was that truly his raw, unedited voice, or is there something deeper, something mysterious, that no one has fully uncovered yet? Welcome to Jikook Lover, the place where hidden moments, shocking truths, and untold stories about BTS finally come to light. Before we go any further, make sure you hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because your opinion might be part of this mystery. And don't forget to subscribe, so you never miss what even hardcore fans are still trying to figure out. Because tonight, we're diving into one question the entire world is asking. Is Jimin's angel voice real, or is there something far bigger behind it? The world wasn't ready for what happened that night. No one could fully explain how a single voice could shift the atmosphere of an entire stadium, shake thousands of people emotionally at the same exact moment, and leave even casual listeners walking away with a feeling they couldn't put into words. It started like any other performance. The stage looked familiar. The lights were dazzling. The crowd was loud, excited, waiting for something unforgettable. But when Park Jimin stepped forward, something changed. There was a pause, a very small one, but enough to make the energy in the air feel different. And then, the first note came out. It wasn't just a sound. It wasn't just technique. There was something else, something that made people instantly look at each other, silently asking the same question. Is this real? What made everything even more intense was the claim spreading rapidly online. This was his raw voice, completely unedited. In an era where technology can polish every imperfection, where auto-tune and vocal processing are standard tools in the industry, a claim like that doesn't just impress, it raises questions. Is it truly natural? Or is it too perfect to be real? Audience members began sharing their experiences almost immediately. Some said the voice felt soul-piercing. Others described it as unreal in the most beautiful way. Fan-recorded clips quickly flooded social media, sparking a global wave of reactions that only grew stronger by the minute. Comments exploded across platforms. Some were in awe, some were skeptical. Others tried to analyze every detail, every breath, every vibrato, every subtle shift in tone. But the deeper people looked, the harder it became to explain. Vocal experts attempted to break it down logically. They pointed to breath control, diaphragm support, years of intense training. All valid explanations, all grounded in reality. And yet, even among professionals, there was hesitation. Because something about it still felt different. As if the emotion carried in that voice went beyond what technique alone could produce. Soon, the phenomenon spread beyond the fan community. International media picked it up. Headlines began to question whether this moment had just redefined live vocal performance itself. But with the praise came doubt. Some began asking the uncomfortable questions. Was there truly no editing involved? Could there have been hidden technology at play? Or was this a case of mass perception, where expectations amplified reality into something greater than it actually was? Interestingly, the debate only made the moment bigger. More people joined in, searching for answers. Videos were slowed down, audio tracks isolated, frequencies examined in detail. Some findings supported the idea of authenticity. Others pointed out tiny irregularities that left room for doubt. And yet, one thing remained undeniable: the emotional impact. People cried without understanding why. Others described chills from the very first note. Some even admitted they couldn't sleep afterward, replaying the moment over and over in their minds. Was it just a beautiful voice? Or something more, something beyond measurable sound? The term, angel voice, isn't new in the music world. Many artists have been given that label before. But this felt different. The scale was bigger, the reaction deeper, the mystery stronger. Some fans connected it to Park Jimin's emotional journey over the years, the pressure, the growth, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Perhaps what people heard wasn't just a voice, but years of struggle and passion condensed into a single moment. But even that explanation didn't fully satisfy everyone. Because the question still lingered. Was that enough to create something that powerful? Or are we still missing a piece of the truth? As time passed, more theories emerged. Some believed it was the peak of human vocal mastery. Others thought it was the perfect fusion of technique and emotion. And a few insisted it was something that couldn't be explained scientifically at all. Meanwhile, new recordings continued to surface, each offering a slightly different perspective, each adding another layer to the mystery. But the more evidence appeared, the more blurred the line between reality and perception became. And maybe that's where the true power of this moment lies. Not in whether the voice was edited or not in whether technology played a role, but in the fact that one voice could make the world pause and feel something together without needing an explanation. And yet, even now, one question remains unanswered, debated, and growing louder across the global fan community. The conversation didn't fade. If anything, it intensified. In the days that followed, clips of Park Jimin's performance continued to circulate at an almost uncontrollable rate. New angles, new recordings, new reactions, each one adding fuel to a fire that no one seemed able to put out. What began as a single viral moment had now transformed into a global discussion that crossed language barriers, fan communities, and even reached people who had never followed BTS before. Some viewers began noticing details that hadn't been discussed initially. The way Jimin closed his eyes before delivering that first note, the subtle tension in his shoulders, the controlled inhale that seemed almost too precise to be spontaneous. These micro moments, once insignificant, now became the center of analysis. People weren't just listening anymore, they were investigating. And yet, the more they examined, the less certainty they found. A particular slowed-down clip sparked another wave of debate. In that version, the rawness of the note became even more apparent. There were tiny imperfections, barely noticeable cracks in tone, subtle shifts in pitch, that paradoxically made the performance feel even more authentic. For some, this was proof. No heavy editing could produce imperfections, so naturally placed. But skeptics weren't convinced. They argued that modern sound engineering is far more advanced than most people realize. That what sounds raw can still be processed in ways that mimic imperfection. That authenticity itself can be engineered. And suddenly, the discussion evolved into something much bigger than just one performance. It became a question about truth in music. In a world where audiences are increasingly aware of behind-the-scenes manipulation, moments like this hit differently. People want to believe in something real. They want to feel that what they are experiencing is genuine, unfiltered, untouched. So when a voice like Jimin's enters the conversation, powerful enough to move masses, yet mysterious enough to raise doubt, it creates a tension that is impossible to ignore. What if this is real? But also, what if it isn't? Interestingly, industry insiders began to quietly weigh in. Not through official statements, but through subtle comments, interviews, and anonymous opinions shared across platforms. Some praised the performance as one of the most emotionally controlled live vocals in recent memory. Others hinted that while impressive, no performance at that scale is ever completely untouched by technology. But none of them gave a definitive answer, and that silence only deepened the mystery. Meanwhile, fans' army found themselves divided in a way that felt unusual. Not in conflict, but in perspective. Some defended the authenticity of the moment with unwavering confidence, pointing to years of live performances where Jimin had proven his vocal ability. Others remained open to the possibility that something unseen might have contributed to what they heard. Yet despite the differing opinions, there was one thing both sides agreed on. The feeling was real. No amount of debate could erase the emotional impact that performance had created. Whether natural or enhanced, the result was undeniable. People felt something powerful, and that in itself carried weight. As the days turned into weeks, the moment didn't disappear. Instead, it evolved into a kind of reference point, a benchmark. Whenever discussions about live vocals emerged, someone would inevitably bring it up. Remember that Jimin performance? And instantly, everyone knew exactly what was being referenced. It became more than a performance. It became a phenomenon. But then, something unexpected happened. A new clip surfaced, this time from a completely different setting. No massive stage, no overwhelming crowd noise, just a more intimate environment where Jimin's voice could be heard with even greater clarity. And once again, the reaction was immediate. The tone was similar. The emotional weight was still there. The same haunting quality that had sparked the original debate returned, almost unchanged. This raised an even more unsettling question. If the conditions were different and the result was the same, then what does that say? Was the stadium moment truly a one-time anomaly? Or is this simply what his voice sounds like when everything aligns perfectly? Some began to argue that perhaps the real misunderstanding wasn't about editing at all. Perhaps people had underestimated what a human voice, trained, refined, and emotionally charged, could actually do. Because history has shown us that extraordinary talent often feels unreal when witnessed at its peak. And yet, even that explanation doesn't fully settle the unease. Because there is still something about that original moment that feels almost too perfect, too precise, too emotionally synchronized across thousands of people. And that brings us to a deeper layer of the mystery, one that goes beyond sound itself. Psychology. Experts in human perception began to explore whether the reaction could have been amplified by collective experience. The idea that thousands of people, sharing the same anticipation, the same emotional investment, could influence each other's reactions in subtle but powerful ways. In other words, was the voice alone responsible? Or was it the combination of sound, expectation, environment, and shared emotion that created something bigger than the sum of its parts? If that's the case, then what people experienced wasn't just a performance. It was a moment, a perfectly timed convergence of factors that can't easily be recreated or analyzed in isolation. And maybe that's why it continues to feel so elusive, because we're not just trying to understand a voice. We're trying to understand an experience, one that refuses to fit neatly into categories of real or enhanced, natural or produced. As more time passes, one thing becomes increasingly clear: the answer may never be fully revealed. Not because it's being hidden, but because it may not exist in the way people expect. Perhaps there is no single explanation. Perhaps it's not just technique, not just technology, not just emotion, but something in between all of them, a space where artistry becomes indistinguishable from something almost intangible. And that is what keeps people coming back to that clip, replaying it, analyzing it, feeling it all over again. Because deep down, everyone is searching for the same thing: understanding. But what if understanding isn't the point? What if the power of that moment lies precisely in the fact that it can't be fully explained? That it exists in that uncomfortable space between certainty and doubt? And if that's true, then maybe the real question isn't whether Park Jimin's voice was edited or not. Maybe the real question is this: if a single voice, real or not, can move millions, blur the line between reality and perception, and leave a lasting emotional imprint across the world, then are we witnessing the peak of human artistry, or the beginning of something we don't yet fully understand?